Up next, we're going to go behind the top 10 songs of this very same week from the year 1981, 40 years ago. And then we're going to re-rank them based on how many times they've been streamed and viewed since, including your memories and artist commentary throughout. This time we have a new twist, though. It's the hit song Redux. Can you guess what the new number one song is based on all-time performance? Could it be Journey? Could it be Tom Petty? The Rolling Stones? Or someone you've long forgotten? It's coming up. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. Make sure that you subscribe below right now to be a part of our Music History Daily straight from the artists. Make sure to click the bell so you never miss out on our daily content. And check out our exclusive content on Patreon by clicking on the link in the description. Also, you can see our new merch at professorofrock.com. Both these help this to be a daily channel. So it's time for another edition of our show, the Hit Song Redux. This is where we travel back to a week in the golden era of rock and roll and re-rank the top 10 songs of that specific week based on their legacy since their peak position on the Billboard Hot 100. We also include your stories and your dedications. And make sure to keep watching all the way to the end because we have a new twist for you. Again, this also includes artist commentary. This program is really a tip of the hat to my hero, Casey Kasem. We all grew up with the American Top 40 Countdown. So this time we travel back to the same week in October of 1981. Now, before we get into this top 10, to get us in a nostalgic mood, I want to talk about the top movies at the box office for that week were The Continental Divide, Arthur, Paternity, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Body Heat. And the top TV shows were Dallas, Three's Company, The Jeffersons, and Dukes of Hazzard. Love that show. I loved it when I was a kid. Let's get into it. Coming in at number 10, a band from Australia who had a lot of hits here in America. I'm talking about our friends Little River Band with the Night Owls. This song would actually peak at number 6. The Night Owls was released in September of 81 as the lead single from their 6th studio album, Time Exposure, and it was the first song to feature new bassist Wayne Nelson on vocals. This was the group's last album with Glenn Chirac on lead vocals until 88, I believe. In the interim, John Farnham took over as the main lead vocalist, staying with the band for the next 3 studio albums. You might remember John from his magnetic song, You Are the Voice. Just a masterful singer. Time Exposure was also the last album with lead guitarist David Briggs. He left prior to the release of the album. He was replaced on tour by Stephen Housden, who later joined the group. This album was produced by the legendary Beatles producer George Martin. I'm trying to get some former members of this wonderful band, Little River Band, to do an interview so we can really feature their songs. Stay tuned for that. This song has garnered about 8 million streams since its original release. Coming in at number 9, the number 9 spot. This is an artist that we tragically lost many years ago. Truly one of my favorite voices ever. He sang his songs with an aching sincerity that few have matched. It's Dan Fogelberg with Hard to Say. It's hard to say when love went wrong. Apparently, Fogelberg wrote this song while he was recovering from surgery, was what I've read. The song came from his 7th album, The Innocent Age. It was, I believe, his most successful albums in terms of singles for sure. In fact, 3 of his 4 top 10 singles on the Billboard Hot 100, Hard to Say, which peaked at number 7, Same Old Lang Syne, which went to number 9, and Leader of the Band, also a number 9 hit. They were all from this album. To the leader of the band. Dan Fogelberg had his old buddy Glenn Frey of the Eagles sing background vocals on this hit, and you can hear it plainly in a few places. This is truly one of those innocent songs that takes me right back to my childhood. playing with my Star Wars figures, my action figures, as this song played on my Pac-Man radio. I didn't have a care in the world. What about you? Share your memories in the comments below. Love Dan Fogelberg. So at the number 8 slot, we have a band from San Francisco that reached its commercial zenith in 1981 with their album Escape that has since sold 10 million copies with one of the greatest singer-guitar duos in history. Talking about Journey with Who's Crying Now. Who's crying now? Steve Perry and Neil Schon, just incomparable. And this song is a great example of that, featuring newcomer Jonathan Cain, who brought something new to the party. Here's what Neil Schon said about the song in an interview.
John brought a different flavor into the band. And a lot of it I was not familiar. It was not familiar grounds for me.
Yeah.
Like Open Arms and Who's Crying Now. I'd never played anything like that. And so I was trying to dig back into my jazz roots and play more like a trumpet player would play something on it. And I was playing a lot more, and Kevin Elson and Mike Stone, who were producing the record at that time, they're going, it's not working, man. You're like too busy. And so I, after trying for about, an hour, 45 minutes, I got really frustrated because usually everything flies out of me like in the first take. And so I said to myself, I'm going to play the silliest, stupidest thing I can play and they can all just get, And so I played the silliest thing I thought was silly. And then they all went, that's amazing. And I'm like, you got to be kidding. You like that? And so there you go.
Many memories were shared about this song. Really good stuff. Viewer Anthony told us he has a pictorial memory of owning the 45 to Who's Crying Now. He says, I can picture putting it on the record player with the little yellowish orange plastic adapter to fit the turntable, a big orange label, Columbia stereo, 5 minutes and 1 second. He used to play it all the time. This is a great story. Our viewer, screen name RBS, also shares this story about the song. I'll quote him exactly so that you can get this. He said, I was doing a DJ gig in an upscale clothing store in New York City. The fashion elite and many celebs were there. Blythe Danner, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Carly Simon, Jamie Lee Curtis, Sheryl Crow, Amy Mann, Tracy Chapman, Paulina Porizkova, Chrissy Hynde, to name a few. So the manager of the store tells me to play as upbeat of music as possible. And then a raging thunderstorm hits outside, and from what I can gather, the store starts emptying out. I couldn't see it because I was behind a large column. They didn't want the DJ to be seen. So I'm starting to groove to the moody vibe of this rainstorm, and I start playing Who's Crying Now by Journey. The manager flipped out. He confronts me. Why are you playing ballads? So now he's angry. I'm feeling guilty, and I decide to go to the bathroom while the song is playing out of sheer embarrassment. And I see everyone that's still there. Everyone is still there, and the whole store is grooving to Who's Crying Now. Ha! Then a French lady comes up to me and says, are you the DJ? This is him quoting her. I love the song. I asked if the song was bringing her down, and she said, good music is universal. It doesn't bring people down. It makes people feel good. Oh, wow. So I want to dedicate the Journey tune, this one, to that elderly French lady who reminded me why I played it in the first place. And then he ended with, that's why you do what you do, Professor. You felt the music and it formed you. You educated yourself and have become the professor. And we listen because we feel the same thing. Thanks, man. That RBS, very cool story. So true. We all feel great music. Well, Who's Crying Now would peak at number 4 on the charts, and it's been streamed an amazing 82 million times since its peak, according to YouTube and Spotify together. So as we go into the number 7 position and continue this countdown, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenith Eyewear. They bring the style. If you head over to zenny.com, you can explore their shades for the fall. They do this all the time. They have different things every month. These guys are amazing. They have something for everybody, for every season, every mood. They have incredible features. I've mentioned before blue blocks that protect your eyes from digital blue light. You got to take a look today. You really will enjoy it. So at number 7, 2 rock legends coming together for a tremendous duet. One of 2 duets in this week's top 10, actually. See if you can guess the other one before we get to it. It's Stevie Nicks and Tom Petty with Stop Dragging My Heart Around.
Stop dragging my heart around.
This song actually peaked at number 3. So the story goes that Tom Petty met Stevie Nicks while he was recording Damn the Torpedoes. So she asked him half jokingly if he could write her a song that she could record for her first solo album. Petty wrote a ballad, it was called Insider, at his home. He recorded a demo with his band and he sent the demo to Stevie Nicks. And after listening to the demo, Stevie Nicks taped the song with Petty and then gave him the tape saying, "You love this so much, you take this song." He ended up including it on Hard Promises. But shortly after, Petty recorded a song that he and guitarist Mike Campbell composed about a year earlier. It's called Stop Dragging My Heart Around. And he sent that demo to Stevie Nicks' producer, Jimmy Iovine. She loved it, saying, "That's what I wanted all along." So that's how it came to be. This is one, definitely one that we need to do a feature on. As you know, I love Tom Petty and, of course, Stevie Nicks as well.
Start to think about what you wanted.
A viewer of the screen named Music and Fiction said that this was the song that started off weight training for their track and field team in the 90s.
Stop dragging my heart around.
It was one of those songs that just allowed you to focus your mind and pump the iron due to the excellent work of Mike Campbell's chiming guitar and Stan Lynch's drum work. I agree, great stuff. Viewer Denise Denton shared that to Stop Dragging My Heart Around forever takes her back to age 18 and her first failed love affair. Very cool. This song has garnered about 62 million streams since its first release. So as we move into the number 6 position, we come upon the most successful duo of the rock and roll era, who at one time had the most hits of the decade of the 80s. Now, by the end of the 80s, they relinquished that position. But the point is, Daryl Hall and John Oates could not be stopped. They're at number 6 with Private Eyes. This was a number 1 hit. This is what John Oates said about the song.
Not much to say about it. We made the record like we made all the other records. We set up in the studio. We had the band. It was a live band. It was our 80s band that would go on to become, just this incredible rhythm section. But this was the beginning of that. And we're getting to know each other, getting to find out who could do what and how it was going to work. We realized we had a really great collection of musicians with us. And, we'd record 2 songs a day. So it was, it wasn't that epic. The results were great. But I think more interestingly, the video was more interesting because here again, it was the beginning of MTV and we really didn't know how to make a music video or what was expected or no one expected anything because there was no one had set a bar, so to speak.
Just as an aside, did you know that Hall & Oates have an emergency hotline? So it was created in 2011 to help you on a gloomy day when you just need a pick-me-up from everyone's favorite duo. It's named Call & Oates. You just dial 719-26-OATES, which is 719-266-2837, and you dial 1 for one-on-one, 2 for Rich Girl, 3 for Maneater, and 4 for Private Eyes. Amazing. Halfway through the survey at number 5, we have an ultimate country crossover artist and one that I wish that I had the chance to interview. It's Eddie Rabbitt with Step by Step at the song's final peak position at number 5.
When she walks by, you don't know what to say.
It would end up being Eddie's 9th number 1 single on the country charts. It has the distinction of being the first country music video ever played on MTV.
Second step, tell me she's the one you're dreaming of.
The song is actually a piece of friendly advice on how to attract a woman's attention, coming to a conclusion that step by step, you'll win her love.
Step by step, you'll win her love.
Eddie had a lot of hits on the Billboard Hot 100, including the number 1 hit, I Love a Rainy Night.
I wake up to a sunny day 'cause I love a rainy night.
My favorite song of his, Driving My Life Away.
Ooh, I'm driving my life away.
So here we are at the number 4 position with a James Bond song. Can you guess what it is before I say it? It's a song from one of the most beautiful singers of the entire decade with a voice to match. Sheena Easton with For Your Eyes Only. I kid you not, I've had a major crush on Sheena Easton since I was like 5 years old. I would say that she's my biggest celebrity crush ever. Might be why I married a redhead, though Sheena's changed her hair color a few times. But Sheena also had one of my favorite voices ever. She could really well. She could hit those high notes like no other. For Your Eyes Only is the theme to the 12th James Bond movie of the same name. Easton is the only artist to date to be seen singing the theme song to a Bond movie during its opening titles, as Morris Binder liked Easton's appearance and decided to add her to the credits. Her seductive appearance in these clips was, according to Roger Moore, more sexy than any of the Bond girls. See, I'm definitely not the only one that thinks this. A little known fact, Blondie were originally offered this song, but their frontwoman Debbie Harry didn't like the lyrics, which are a submissive nature that doesn't suit her. Blondie guitarist Chris Stein, he wrote their own song for the film, but Bond producer Albert Broccoli didn't care for it, so instead he asked Sheena Easton to sing the original song penned by Conti and Leeson. Blondie later included their song for the movie on their 1982 album, The Hunter. For Your Eyes Only has done very well since its original release, with almost 50 million streams. So what is your favorite James Bond theme? Make sure to let us know in the comments. At number 3, for this very week, 40 years ago, we have a band that at that exact moment was in their 3rd decade of their career with a song that would actually end up being one of their biggest hits ever. It's the Rolling Stones with Start Me Up. The song ended up peaking at number 2, but has been massive ever since. It was originally a reggae song titled Never Stop from the Black and Blue Sessions in Rotterdam in January and February of 1975. And then Start Me Up was reworked at the Marconi Studios in Paris. That was in 1977. Now, surprisingly, the Stones played about 70 takes, most of them in a reggae style. But guitarist Keith Richards didn't like it. He didn't even like the final version, which was more in a rock style. But they rediscovered it when Mick Jagger recorded the vocals in early 1981. And after a couple of overdubs, they were finally satisfied with a song that would be a true Stones classic. Now, the song was released as the first single from Tattoo You, the album that brought the Stones into the MTV era. That introduced them to a legion of new fans. You might remember this song in the 1995 Microsoft commercials when they launched Windows 95 OS, which has a start button on the main screen. And many of our viewers had a lot of memories of this hit. A viewer, Gunter, said that Start Me Up makes you want to move like Jagger, which is impossible, of course, because No one can copy his moves. Very true. Now, screen name the train spotter from Taranga, I hope I said that right, she says, and I quote, "Start Me Up is my favorite Rolling Stones song. I don't remember when I first heard it. Might have been a few good years ago, considering that I was born in the year 2000. It's impressive that I now prefer older music. The only strong memory of that song that I have at this moment is from just the other week. I was sitting at a railway crossing here in Taranga, New Zealand, when I heard Start Me Up on the radio. It ended only seconds before a Kiwi Rail freight train came rolling past. How's that for timing?" End of quote. Very cool. Another viewer, Edie Artiva, remembers, or was it Eddie Artiva? I hope I got that right. He remembers the Windows 95 ad as well, saying Start Me Up was used for the Windows 95 rollout. The ad stopped short of the line, "You make a grown man cry." That's false advertising right there. I like that. So moving up to the number 2 position, we're only one away. It's the other duet in this 1981 top 10. It's a song that spent an astonishing 9 weeks at number 1, and in the process, it became Motown's biggest single ever. It's Diana Ross and Lionel Richie with their duet, Endless Love.
Endless
You may remember that this song was used in the 1981 film of the same name that starred Brooke Shields. The film was based on a best-selling novel of the same name as well. It wasn't all that successful, the movie. Hollywood remade it recently. Go figure.
There's only you in my life.
I got Oscar and Golden Globe nominations and also won a Marquee Award in '82 for Best Original Song. Now, Lionel Richie was actually still with the Commodores when Endless Love director Franco Zeffirelli asked him to write an instrumental theme, similar to Henry Mancini's theme from the blockbuster '71 film Love Story, a movie that actually did do well. Richie used a piece of music that he'd written for the Commodores, but they didn't end up recording it. Later, Zeffirelli decided he wanted lyrics and that it should be a duet, and he suggested Diana Ross. So Lionel Richie's original assignment went from coming up with an instrumental theme song to writing and singing a mesmerizing duet with the most popular, the biggest female vocalist in America. No big deal.
Your every step I make.
In the end, the song had to be rush recorded, though, because Lionel Richie and Diana Ross had to move on to fulfill their other obligations that they'd made. Lionel Richie said he considers the recording of this song to have been a disaster. He said, and I quote, "I'd not written a duet before, but the record company suddenly changed the song to a duet and got Diana Ross in. She arrived at the studio and told me she wanted my part. I had to kind of make up her part because I can't sing in that key. What you hear on the record is what happened on the day as it had to go out the next day for the movie." End of quote. That's amazing.
And your eyes.
So this song has it's been massive since its debut. It's had over 300 million streams. Well, we've arrived at the number 1 song from this week in October of 1981, 40 years ago to be exact, and it comes from a movie, from an artist who is still touring and is a defining artist for a genre that has been retitled decades after it was popular. Talking about yacht rock, which was renamed a good 30 plus years after it was dominating radio as soft rock. Talking about Mr. Christopher Cross with Arthur's theme, Best That You Can Do. This was the main theme for the '81 film Arthur, it starred Dudley Moore and Liza Minnelli. The song would go on to win the Oscar for the Best Original Song. It also reached number 1 on the AC charts that very same month, and it would end up spending 3 weeks at the top of the charts. There's a very interesting story about the song. Now, writer Peter Allen, who co-wrote the song with Burt Bacharach, Carol Bayer Sager, and Christopher Cross, Peter just to tell you, was portrayed by Hugh Jackman in the musical The Boy from Oz. He won a Tony Award for that. It's Peter Allen's life story. So anyway, Peter Allen was on a flight, and he came up with the part of the song while on that flight. His plane actually got stuck in a holding pattern waiting to land at JFK Airport in New York. A flight attendant named Susan Lena recounted that when Peter Allen was deplaning, he told her, "You've inspired me to write a song, and you'll know it when you hear it." He was, of course, referring to the lyric, "When you get caught between the moon and New York City," having just experienced that very thing on this flight. I hope to do an interview with this great yacht rock captain, Christopher Cross. I love him. Very soon. I hope to get the story of the song and so many of his other smooth hits. Well, there you have it. The top 10 songs from 40 years ago this very week. Now let's look at their true ranking, re-ranking them based on all-time streams since their release. At number 5, with 82 million streams, it's Journey with Who's Crying Now. At number 4, just short of 100 million streams, it's Private Eyes by Daryl Hall and John Oates. Coming in at number 3 with 163 million streams, it's Christopher Cross with Arthur's theme, Best That You Can Do. So that means we'll have a new number 1 song. At the number 2 spot with 308 million streams, it's the duet of Diana Ross and Lionel Richie with Endless Love. Well, drum roll please. The brand new number 1 song based on all-time performance up to this point, it's the Rolling Stones with Start Me Up with an incredible 842 million streams. Well on its way to 1 billion. And now for our new little twist that I promised at the very beginning of this. So I took some flack on our last hit song Redux, which was the top 10 for that same week in 1983. I took flack for saying that it proves that today's music is bad. Well, I always want to be positive. I try to be. So that was rare for me. This time I've decided to let the music speak for itself. So here are some comparison clips on how some of the songs in today's survey sound up against some of 2021's number 1 hits.
It's the only two, man. How many times have I shown improvement? How many nights I've been woke, swerving the pop? Stop dragging my heart around. I get my light right from the source, yeah, that's it. And I see you. Don't make the grown man cry.
If it's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's stuck. If it's up, then it's up, then it's up.
Well, there you have it. Let me know your opinions in the comments. It's pretty amazing that many of the artists from the top 10 from 40 years ago are still going strong today. I mean, you just had Journey played the iHeartRadio Festival. It was on TV, and they have a new record coming out. Daryl Hall and John Oates, Christopher Cross are out on tour as we speak. Lionel Richie is a judge on American Idol. And of course, the Rolling Stones, they're like the Energizer Bunny. They just keep going and going and going and going. I mean, Keith Richards is going to outlive us all. Unfortunately, we've lost 3 of the artists from the countdown today: Tom Petty, Dan Fogelberg, and Eddie Rabbitt. So I'd like to dedicate this episode to those great artists. So how would you rank these top 10 songs? Let us know in the comments. Share your memories of these songs in the wonderful year of 1981. What other weeks or years should we do when we do this again? When we do a vintage years collection for 81, who should we include? Let us know in the comments. If we didn't get to your dedication or memory, we will. Share with us. We want to know. If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe and make sure to click the bell so you never miss out. Check us out on Patreon. Check out our merch. Both of these things, they help us keep the music alive. That is always the goal. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends. We'll talk to you soon.